Dave Spalding of Handgun Combatives recently shared a brand new exercise from Ken Hackathorn, the Cup Qual, intended to be shot and scored on an IDPA target, a 20-round exercise with 9 separate strings. If you're practicing for IDPA competition, I do think it's a very affordable and easily sourced target. But if you're practicing and training from a defensive standpoint, I think the scoring area represented is too large. If we add a 5-inch circle high in that 8-inch circle, it becomes a much more realistic, from a defensive standpoint, target. Carl Wren of KR Training shot the drill, wrote about it in his blog post, and rates it at about a 60 to 70% difficulty rating based on his studies, roughly a USPSA B class or IDPA master class level to pass that exercise. John Hearn's performance and automaticity chart put it at about the same place, roughly equivalent to the FAM tactical pistol course. I think it's true that the only useful metrics we have for shooting-related tasks are speed and accuracy. I don't always agree with simply decreasing the allowed time for a given task. I think that often we'd be better off to increase the accuracy requirement. For our training, I think the shootsteel.com target represents a much better choice, especially as it relates to the defensive use of a firearm. Reducing the allowed scoreable area in the chest from roughly 56 inches to 19 inches, in my opinion, is much more realistic. The times in the Cup Qual for each individual string very closely mirror our studies in average human performance, average reaction, response, and biomechanical movement time. From a performance training standpoint, I believe we're better served by reducing the scoreable area, raising the accuracy standard, and then working within the average human performance timeframes until those skills are anchored in the 90 to 100% range. It's easy enough to change the difficulty level without necessarily changing the speed in which we do it. But once those skills are anchored, once we can, on demand, perform at that 90 to 100% range, then it's easy enough to switch from the average times reflected in the PARs, for example in the Cup Qual, to maybe a hit factor like scoring, and produce individual results and individual metrics that can track and reflect an individual's performance level. I don't believe that any quality instructor should tell their students to practice drills or qualifications. Rather, the advice that they're giving or should be giving is to practice those essential skills required to pass a given drill or qualification. If we reduce the size of the target to a more realistic training target from a defensive standpoint, it becomes much easier to use those average human performance times based on the higher standard to help develop an individual training plan when it comes to the defensive use of a firearm.